Mr. Alex Villanueva. Please go ahead.
Good morning, and thank you for joining us today. I am not Alex Villanueva. My name is John Satterfield. I'm the captain of Sheriff's Information Bureau. And today our order of speakers will be Sheriff of Los Angeles County, Alex Villanueva, and the captain of Lomita Sheriff Station, James Powers. After they speak, we'll open it up for some questions. And then after all of that, the sheriff will transition to Spanish. Now it's my honor to introduce Sheriff of Los Angeles County, Alex Villanueva.
Thank you, John. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Hall of Justice. This is the headquarters for the LA County Sheriff's Department. I made a promise 7 weeks ago to deliver information regarding this traffic collision involving Tiger Woods, and we're here to follow through on that promise and to share with you what we have learned regarding the collision that occurred on February 23rd in Rolling Hills Estates. And as I said at the day of the crash, we're thankful that that he survived this tragic collision. And I'd like to point out that Tiger Woods and his representatives have been very cooperative throughout this investigative process. And they've also provided us with the permission to share these findings with you. And for the record, under Section 20012 of the California Vehicle Code, the details of this report would remain confidential except for the involved parties. And this is true of the thousands of reports like this type we prepare every year throughout LA County. And no one is asking for any of those reports. And so this is treated no differently. The primary causal factor for this traffic collision was driving at a speed unsafe for the road conditions and the inability to negotiate the curve of the roadway. Estimated speeds at the first area of impact were the curve of the roadway. Estimated speeds at the first area of impact were 84 to 87 miles per hour. And the final estimated speed when the vehicle struck the tree was 75 miles per hour. There were no citations issued and there are no signs of impairment. Now, I know there are some saying that somehow he received a special or a preferential treatment any of some kind. That is absolutely false. There was no signs of impairment. Our primary concern, once we obviously at the scene of the collision, was his safety. And this is where you have to switch gears and make sure the person can survive and receives the medical care they need. And the fire department, paramedics, and that's why he was taken to a trauma center, because he obviously had a compound fracture to a leg and it was life-threatening injuries. So I know there's a lot of experts who claimed, or drug recognition people said, oh, they should have drawn blood or done this or done that. And without the signs of impairment, we don't get to the point where we can actually author a search warrant and develop the probable cause to get that and execute that search warrant. So that did not happen, and that is not preferential treatment that would occur in any collision of this type based on these circumstances. And past history does not get you the elements you need to establish that probable cause. So I'll leave it at that. So now let me introduce Jim Powers, who's the captain of Lomita Sheriff Station.
Thank you, Sheriff. Thank you for having me here. Good morning. I'm here to discuss some of the details of the traffic collision that occurred on Tuesday, February 23rd of this year at approximately 7:12 in the morning on Hawthorne Boulevard in the city of Rolling Hills Estates, involving Mr. Tiger Woods. I'd like to first introduce the deputies that were involved in this investigation. The first responding deputy is Deputy Carlos Gonzalez, who is to my right. Also Deputy Justin Smith, who is involved in the investigation after the fact, and the lead investigator, Detective Johann Schlogel, and then Sergeant Michael Downing from Traffic Services Bureau was involved in the evaluation of the data recorder of the vehicle. So upon our arrival, when Mr. Woods was involved in the collision, we responded. The vehicle was off the roadway and on its side. Mr. Woods was still inside the vehicle, his seatbelt was still worn, and the airbags had deployed. Mr. Wood appeared injured based on his appearance, and to prevent further injury, we waited for the paramedics to arrive to remove him from the vehicle and transport him to the hospital. There should be a slide of an aerial view The median is depicted on the slide where the first area of impact was. There's a sign on the median that was the second area of impact, which is depicted by red dots. And then the third area of impact was on the west curb on the opposite side of Hawthorne Boulevard. And then the fourth area of impact was a tree west of the curb off the roadway, approximately 71 feet. And the blue dot that's indicated there is where the point of rest where the vehicle was. The impact of the vehicle when it hit the tree caused the vehicle to go airborne and do a somewhat pirouette, landing on its side. The follow-up investigation after the fact, as the sheriff indicated, there was no evidence of any impairment. There was no odor of alcohol. There were no open containers in the vehicle, and there were no narcotics or any evidence of medication in the vehicle or on his person. In this situation, the question was asked about, did we conduct field sobriety tests? Due to his injuries and the traumatic nature of his injuries, it would not be appropriate to do any type of field sobriety test. I will say that Tiger Woods and his management team have been in communication with us and have been throughout this entire event and have cooperated with any of our follow-up investigation questions and have responded to any of our questions and or concerns. The event data recorder was investigated, and on March 1st, we examined that data recorder after obtaining a search warrant that was signed by Judge Tony Cho of the Torrance Courthouse. There's an airbag control unit of the data recorder that showed information that we described as Event 1 and Event 2, and a combination of Event 1 and 2. Those events are areas of impact that was recorded by the recorder. The airbags were deployed, and each event shows a 5-second window, and the combination of both events show a 7-second window prior to the collision and up to the collision. The event data recorder showed speeds ranged from 82.02 miles per hour to 86.99 miles per hour and back down to 68.35 miles per hour. A second reading of this event data recorder is the acceleration pedal percentage, which is the pressure applied to the accelerator pedal during the collision. This measurement was at 99% at the area of impact, at all the area of impacts of the collision. The data recorder also recorded braking. There was no evidence of braking throughout this collision. It is speculated and believed that Tiger Woods inadvertently hit the accelerator instead of the brake pedal, causing that 99% rating on the accelerator pedal. Steering was also recorded, and it ranged from a -10 to 55. And this is on a 360-degree circular model, so it indicates that steering was made from the left and to the right, and it's believed that this could be from trying to correct from the impacts and also the impacts itself throughout the collision. Again, the estimated speeds of impact were 84 to 87 miles per hour at the median. 84, and then at the impact of the west curb line, it's estimated the speed was about 75 miles per hour. And these are estimated speeds based on the recordings from the data recorder. The cause of the collision is determined by the statements of the parties involved, any independent witnesses, facts of the scene and roadway, and the opinions of the traffic investigators. There were no independent witnesses of this collision, and the primary cause was driving at a speed unsafe for the road conditions and the inability to negotiate the curve of the roadway. No citation was issued, and there were no independent witnesses and no observations by a peace officer which would support the issuance of a citation. And that's all I have, and if you have any questions, we welcome them.
So you want to answer, or does the sheriff want to ask first? Are you
Ask
good
a
with
question,
him?
that's fine.
Captain, thank you, Elizabeth. Captain, was there any evidence of distracted driving? I mean, did you check his phone for any texting or anything like that?
We did not check his phone for texting, and there was really no need to do that. And so there was no other evidence. The only associated factor, well, there's two factors: the speed and the failing to maintain the straight course or the curvature of the roadway. That's it. There's nothing from the cell phone to indicate any type of distracted driving.
So there was no texting or phone calls or anything around that time?
Not to our knowledge.
Captain,
What about blood work? And there was a lot made about being able to draw blood at the scene, which I know is preposterous, but the notion that you did have access to blood work at the hospital, did you seek a warrant for that at all?
We did not seek a warrant because there was no indication for us to do so. And so based on all the facts, there was no evidence of any impairment or intoxication. And so in order to obtain a search warrant, you have to have probable cause to be able to articulate that. And that did not exist.
So no DRE was ever even dispatched?
We have our investigators out there, and they are qualified DREs, and so those questions were asked, and they're all indicated and documented in the report.
Thank you, sir.
Captain, can you explain this inadvertently hitting the accelerator? Can you explain that one more time?
It's believed that when you panic or you have some sort of a sudden interruption while you're driving, your initial impact is to, or your initial thought is to hit the brake, and it's believed that he may have done that, but hit the accelerator and didn't hit the brake. We don't know that. He doesn't have any recollection of the incident, and like I said, that's a speculation. There is zero braking throughout that recording of the data recorder, and it's 99% acceleration on the pedal.
Captain, wouldn't it seem to be logical to check to see if Tiger Woods was perhaps distracted using his cell phone or texting before the accident?